media, and I'm standing.
I think it's the most purest form of marketing.
My top affiliate does anywhere from 10 to 13 million a year.
The slogan of the company is, for affiliates, by affiliates.
Hey Jason, excited to have this conversation. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, excited to be here.
Do appreciate it. I would like to start by talking a little bit about your personal background. Do you remember how you got involved into affiliate marketing?
Oh, yeah. I couldn't forget. Back at that time, I was selling franchises for a company called Blimpie. I was selling the franchise licenses to people that wanted to get into business, and they were going to go into bankruptcy. And I was like, what am I going to do? This internet thing looks interesting. And I bought an ebook. I think it was like $35 or $37, and it was an ebook, like 100 pages. It was some Perl scripts, which back before PHP, most stuff was written in Perl, and it was a forum that you got to be a part of. And it was called Search Engine Cloaker Secrets. And so then, from that point, I stumbled around for quite a while, and I just remember, at that time I wasn't doing affiliate, I was doing Google ads.
Mm-hmm.
So basically the strategy was you'd put content together, rank it in the search engines, and then put Google ads on the page and get paid, but in a black hat sort of way, reverse engineering the algorithms and figuring out how to rank. I remember very clearly the first day I got a check in the mail from Google. It was, I believe it was $1.68.
Uh-huh.
And I never talked to anybody. And Google just sent me money.
That was
an actual check.
All right.
And, this is a long time ago, right? And I had this check, and I'm just like, this can't be actually real. And I remember going to the bank and depositing it into the bank, and then, I was expecting them to say, oh, this is a real check. And then the money went in the bank, and then I hit refresh on my account for like the next 5 days to see if it bounced. And then after that 5 days, I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life.
You mentioned once that CPA media buying affiliate marketers are the best marketers in the world. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I think it's the most purest form of marketing. You take something you have zero control of. I've been in this business for a long time, but if you take a step back and you said to somebody, would you like to spend your own money, take all the risk, and send us free traffic, and if we feel like firing a pixel, we'll fire a pixel. Who would get in this business? If you really look at it, obviously there's many people that have done very, very well, and it works, but just from a conceptual concept of a business is kind of crazy. So you take these people that have no control, they don't own the data most of the time on the back end of the offer, they don't own the customer, they can't increase the value of the customer, they can't do anything.
Right.
They can literally just send traffic to a link and hope that it converts, right? So they're buying media, they're building landing pages. Affiliates are really special creatures because they do so much stuff, right? Most managed servers, they typically write some level of HTML, so they do some coding. They write copy a lot of times. They use Photoshop because you got to learn how to build creatives. They do business development and bringing in offers and finding offers. They can't do campaign management. Like if you really break down everything that an affiliate does and needs to do to be successful as a single individual, it's really amazing, right? And I say they're the best marketers in the world because, again, it's super pure. And anybody that's going to do e-commerce or want to build a product company or whatever, I would always engage them in being an affiliate first, because I think if you can understand how to buy media, send it to a page, that page converts, and do that profitably, you're going to have such a leg up on any business that you want to create. So like I'm building an e-commerce business now, but I'm using all of my skills that I learned on the media buying side in order to make that successful. So
let me ask you this then. I just got this question.
Sure.
Do you consider yourself an affiliate marketer still, or a businessman now? An entrepreneur, in other words.
I'm definitely a businessman, but I always have the view of everything as an affiliate.
Right.
Like my lens that I view the world through is from an affiliate lens.
Does it help you to run your business? I mean, of course it does,
yes,
because you're in affiliate business, but let's imagine if you had to run different business, would your skill be
it would
appliable?
tremendously be helpful, right? Because to be a successful affiliate, you've got to understand finances, you've got to understand money in, money out, you've got to understand lifetime values, or how is that happening on this side, and can I get that increased? Do I capture? There's just so many facets to being an affiliate, but really the biggest thing is problem solving.
Yeah.
Right? I think affiliates are some of the best problem solvers that I know, because they deal with so many problems
because
all
problems
the time.
do always pop up like every day.
And it's not, you look at like a steel company and they do the same thing for years on end, right? Our business, we're doing a lot of volume in one vertical this month. That could all go to zero next month. And we've got to reinvent and figure out a whole new business in the next month. And this happens all the time. I mean, not for us now because we have so much diversity and we're big enough that there's the ups and down swings, balance each other out to a certain extent. But as a single affiliate, you find one offer, you hit that offer as hard as you can, you make as much money as you can, and it's going to go away for some reason, but that is never going to last forever.
Exactly.
Changes in Facebook, changes in Google, you come to these shows and you see year over year, something's big. And then 2 years from now, that thing won't even be here anymore.
And for 4 years, you made 400 plus million in US dollars.
Yeah.
Then you lost 85% of your business.
95.
95.
Every affiliate needs a tracker. Now I'm going to give you 3 reasons why to start using Binom. That is unlimited for only $99 a month. That's built by top affiliates for affiliates with precise understanding of what a tracker should be capable of. Binom support team can help you with any question and usually answers within a minute. Join now and get your discount from Zorbas Media. Details in the description.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about A4D now.
Sure.
As far as I read it, you started it in 2008, and for 4 years you made 400 plus million in US dollars.
Revenue.
That was, I was going to ask you, what was that number? Was it total sales or revenue?
Commissions.
Commissions.
So, that's the commissions that we got paid by the merchants.
Right.
The merchants that probably generated maybe
Way
$1 billion or $2 billion in actual value. But that was just our piece of the business.
How did it grow so successful and big?
At that point in time, so back, if we can just go back for a second to the ebook era, forums have been what has changed my life in this business, right? I didn't have success for a long time, but I was in a forum and other people were having success. And I was like, well, if they can do it, I can definitely do it, right? These are real people I talk to every day.
So you were active on the forums?
Extraordinarily active.
So that's how you grow your affiliate network. Exactly. I presume that you posted something.
Yeah. So I don't know how it happened, but somebody basically said, hey, do you own a platform? And I was like, yeah. And then we had like 2,000 affiliates sign up from Wicked Fire the next day.
2,000.
Yeah. And it was just me.
Most of the affiliate networks don't have it even today, but 2,000. Wow.
Yeah. Again, these are people that I'd given back to a community for years. Then all I did was to grow the network from there. All I did is in the little signature line at the bottom. I just say I own A4D or Ads for Dough at the time. If you'd like to be an affiliate with us, sign up here. And here's my blog if you'd like to read, information, and stuff that I've helped people with. And then all I did is respond to posts and just continually help.
That's the
people.
Power of the community.
Yeah, just any question anybody ever had that I knew the answer to, I would respond to, and people saw me as helpful, and they wanted to work.
So the next morning you woke up.
Yeah.
Having 2,000 affiliates, running successful affiliates.
I didn't know anything. It was just me, right? I didn't have an affiliate manager. I didn't have accounting people. I didn't have anything. I was literally doing everything, setting up the offers, talking to the affiliates, paying the bills, running QuickBooks, again, everything.
That's the story. And in 4 years you got.
Yeah. And
400 millions. And then you were sued, as far as I know,
right. Yep.
by
Federal Trade Commission.
Federal Trade Commission for false claims, I believe, or something like that.
Yeah. So
what did you feel back then? What are you scared?
One of my core beliefs is work on yourself and your skill sets. So you can lose your money at any time, but you can never lose your growth and your skills. So I wasn't overly, it was crappy to go through, but I wasn't overly, I knew I would figure out something or build something new if the worst of the worst happened. But when that happened, that was later in 2012, that 95% of our business was that stuff, and our overhead at the time was 17,000 a day, and
you lost 85% of your business.
95.
So
So I was so with the FTC, they sent me a subpoena. Basically, it's called a CID in the U.S. And they didn't tell me why they were subpoenaing me. So that went on for 2 years. And so it actually finally finalized. I was in Santorini, and that all went through and finalized. We wired them $1 million, and
that was a fine.
Yeah, that was a settlement or whatever. And I came back, and so I wasn't even in the office when this happened. I was like, hey guys, we got to shut down all that stuff, all these things that we've been doing for so many years, and all of you know inside and out, we have to stop doing. And then I remember going back to work, and we were probably doing $4,000 a day in margin and $17,000 a day in overhead. And I just pictured myself coming into the office every day, setting $13,000 on the table, and then going to work for 10 hours.
That was not easy.
It was
wasn't it?
It was not easy.
Not easy feeling, I guess.
But whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right?
That's right.
We had a couple of instances in A4D where we basically almost went bankrupt. In 2010, we had about 4 million in non-payments.
Wow.
So merchants that stiffed us, or, credit card processors, froze all their accounts or whatever it was. And I remember at one point in time, we were running around 150,000 a month in overhead, and we had about 120,000 a month in the bank.
Why didn't you stop it?
We did.
You did?
Yeah. I mean, we stopped, we turned all those verticals off, we turned all that stuff off, and just reset. That's one thing that, if everything's going bad, just stop doing everything.
And reset.
And reset and say, what do I have? What are the pieces that I have in play here? And then what's the wisest decision going forward? If I knew, if nothing was going on right now, what would I do? What path would I choose?
And what path did you choose?
We started doing auto insurance leads. So at that point in time, there was a company, I can't remember the name of it, but the offer was called To Insure for Less. And we just started focusing on auto insurance lead. A friend Phil, a friend of mine, started running 10 to 14,000 leads a day in auto insurance for us. And that basically saved the company.
What is your secret sauce? I mean, 70,000 affiliates, and then you're tending to be like completely white hat.
My top affiliate does anywhere from 10 to 13 million a year.
How would you estimate the financial value of a foodie now? And that is kind of what you are focusing on right now, lead generation.
Yeah, we do a lot in the lead generation space. Typically high value leads, high value, high quality.
Like what? Like insurance?
Auto insurance, life insurance, Medicare. We do stuff in the law space, legal space, refinance. Typically we're focusing on offers that Facebook will allow us to run, and you're not going to lose accounts and stuff like that. People call it white hat. You still lose accounts some with Facebook. It is what it is. But much less, right? You don't have to cloak or do any of those type of things. So that's really where we focus most of our efforts. We run a lot of native Google ads.
And you have like what, 20,000 affiliates right now?
Probably, I think 17,000 approved on the network.
Wow.
And those are all people we've talked to over the phone. I mean, probably 200,000 have signed up, and those were the ones that, we kind of had gone through. In that mix, I'm sure some of those people aren't in the business anymore.
Around 17,000, and you're tending to be like completely white hat. And what is your secret sauce? I mean, 70,000 affiliates.
Just being around a long time, right? Being around a long time, and just keeping the brand relevant and keeping a lot of effort into the quality of the A4D brand. And we put a lot of effort into making sure we take care of affiliates, right? Because the slogan of the company is for affiliates, by affiliates, because I was an affiliate for 5 years, and there was a bunch of stuff that I didn't like about affiliate networks.
Do you see more and more affiliates are kind of getting interested in transitioning to white hat side?
Quite a bit, yeah. I mean, it's really vertical focused. To do the black hat stuff, you don't really have to be that great of a marketer. Do you know what I mean by that? Like most guys are just copying somebody else's ads and somebody else's pages,
trying to figure out how to squeeze it.
Yeah, or get accounts, and it's not really a marketing game per se. With white hat stuff, everybody's not running the same thing. I mean, we probably have 750 offers that are getting traffic every day on the network. So in order to do it, you have to typically be a better marketer, right? You've got to be better at copywriting. You've got to be better at testing your ads and split testing your landing pages and stuff like that. And I think a lot of times I watch people come from a black hat world where, they're just copying somebody else's news-based, celebrity-based landing page, that's all fake and whatever. And, you bring them over and you're like, okay, well, here's a life insurance offer and here's kind of how it's run. And, you almost have to reset, because it's like, well, I've got this thing over here making me money, but I really don't want to do it anymore because it's a pain in the ass because I constantly losing Facebook accounts. I can't scale, like whatever the problems are. I'm just tired of it. I want to come over here. And then they come over here and they expect to be successful on day one.
Which is not really possible.
It's not possible, right? You've got to kind of change your mindset. You probably have to brush up on your marketing skills some, read a couple of copywriting books.
That also probably takes more investments in the very beginning.
It does. But it's just much more sustainable, right? Like our e-commerce stuff, I don't ever lose accounts, ever. I haven't lost an account in 2 years on our e-commerce side of the business. So it's like, it can be harder, it can be more work to make it work up front, but it'll typically stay there and be profitable and make money for longer periods of time.
What are your biggest traffic sources, if we speak about that practically?
Facebook's definitely number one. We're probably 60-70% Facebook. Right. Google's probably 20%, native's probably 15%, and then push and pop and stuff like that's like probably blended 3 to 5%.
So do you think that white hat lead gen stuff is doable by a single person?
Super doable. As I was saying, my top affiliate, he does anywhere from 10 to 13 million a year, a single guy out of his house. It's still doable. I do think it's getting harder. Back 5 years ago, as media continually gets more expensive and compliance gets tighter and tighter, it does get more difficult for the single affiliate to have that level of success. But it's still very, very much possible.
You mentioned once that at a certain point you wanted to sell A4D, but you realized that it's not really sellable. And what is that you have built now that is sellable?
Yeah, so right after the FTC lawsuit, you do some soul searching, right? You're like, well, what am I going to do now, right? And it's like, well, maybe I could sell A4D. And I realized that I literally had invested all this time into building something that was worth nothing. And I told myself I will never do that again, right? So that was, part of our strategy in looking at white hat offers and, sustainable stuff, right? If you're talking to a private equity firm, and you're like, we cloak Facebook and we make fake accounts and do all this stuff that has to happen in order for all that black hat world to exist. And we're not interested in this.
You want past due diligence,
right? So it's just part of the strategy and the offer selection and the areas of business that we're in and growing in. Operational excellence is a big part of that as well.
How would you estimate the financial value of A4D now?
I don't know. It's a hard question, right? Probably somewhere between $30 and $50 million, I would guess, something like that.
Would you sell it?
That's another hard question, right? If somebody came and gave you the offer you couldn't refuse, everything's for sale, right? But I see a fairly clear path to 100 million, over the next 2 to 3 years.
Is that possible to go public with CPA-based kind of business?
Matomi is public.
Matomi is public.
Yeah. So, Excel marketing in the US is, I know they have a plan to go public. I don't see why not, you know.
Where would you love to be in 5 years from now?
The space is growing crazy. Every year it just gets bigger, right? The opportunity is still there.
So we're in the right place in the right time still.
100%.
I know that you encourage people to ask themselves where they would love to be in 5 years from now.
Yeah.
So I want you now to answer that question. Where would you love to be in 5 years from now?
You know, I'd like on the A4D side, I would like ideally acquire some companies and roll up those companies, maybe one in Europe, maybe one in New York, maybe one in Asia, and one in South America. So we can really take all of our systems and our great operations and our tech and really start to grow in those other markets. You know, I'd like to see if we can get to 150 million, 200 million a year in revenue, which I think is fully doable. So that's on the A4D side of the business. And then on my e-commerce product side of the business, you know, I built a ton of technology there, and that's where a lot of my day-to-day focus goes. So, you know, my goal ultimately is to take that e-commerce product business and see if I can build it to $1 billion or multiple billions of dollars a year in revenue under our own brands and our own product lines.
Do you think that performance marketing industry is good for new businesses to be made up?
Oh yeah, this space is growing crazy. Like every year it just gets bigger, right? It gets a little bit harder and it gets bigger. It's like, it's a weird thing that's happening, but I remember like the first affiliate summit I went to, you know, in America was really the first affiliate focused trade show, and it was in Las Vegas, and I went in and there was probably 20 booths.
Really?
Yeah, I was an affiliate at the time. You know, and I didn't know anybody. I just talked to people in forums, and that was another thing where I went to the trade show. There was 20 booths, which for me as an affiliate, I went to this thing and I was like, oh my gosh, there's all these businesses here. Like the people are actually building real businesses, and this thing is actually real. I remember that, and I was like, I'm going to build a big business in this space, right? But you know, that show probably had 300 attendees, right? And here we are, you know, I think they said 3,600 attendees at just the European version.
200 companies around.
Yeah, and then that's happening in Asia, and you still got all the trade shows happening in the US, and I mean, this stuff is just growing and growing and growing, and I think there's something appealing to being an affiliate, right? Like
what?
If you have a corporate job and you're like, hey, I can work from anywhere, I can work from my laptop, and I don't have to have employees, I don't have to do all that stuff, and you know, I have a lot of friends that, you know, they're very much a lifestyle business, and they love it that way, right? They travel half of the year, and they make decent money, you know, they're not making millions or anything like that, but they make plenty of money to live. And I think as a business, it's very, very doable to make a really good living and not work that hard. In the beginning, you have to work very hard because you have to learn.
Yeah, and build the foundation.
Build the foundation, yeah. But once you've got the skill sets and you really know how it all works, like I could probably, as a single affiliate in this world, I could probably make, I don't know, $250,000 a year working 2 days a week for 4 hours, I would guess.
So you still can do it?
Still, yeah, the opportunity is still there.
So we're in the right place in the right time still?
100%. 100%. I think the opportunity is definitely still there.
Thank you very much,
all right,
Jason.
Yeah,
I had a great time talking to you.
Yeah, it was awesome, man. Appreciate it.
Cool.